This is Aaron Heisen with Believe Network. I'm a beat reporter for the Southern California News Group, and I was covering the USC women's basketball game on Monday night against Mississippi State. I've been filling in for the last few games as the SoCal News Group's beat reporter for USC has since left his position. And I was kind of ballooning in on the team. I've followed them this year because they're so prevalent in the Los Angeles community and because of how talented they are. But and obviously because Juju Watkins is this larger than life figure, so they're a big spot in this city, and you watch them all the time. They're on TV against UCLA, especially. So yeah, I'm ballooning in on this team for 2 games, and I think the first thing that I noticed with the USC women's basketball team and their fans is that when you're in LA, you're a fan of the Dodgers, the Lakers, UCLA, you're a fan of all these teams collectively. But with USC women's basketball, those fans are just fans of that team. That's their community. And the reason that started is because of Juju Watkins. So when you see that and you feel that love for one player, it's really special. Like, that's something that I had never witnessed before for a singular player. And then in the first game that I covered was against UNC Greensboro in their first round game, and Juju jammed her finger in the first quarter, and then rolled her ankle in the third quarter. And these were minor injuries, but you can see the crowd, growing anxious when she comes out. And then when this happens and she falls and grabs her knee, and everybody who's ever watched basketball knows exactly what happens in that moment, it just goes completely silent. And that's a reaction I'd never seen before covering sports. I've covered sports for the last 3 years. I've covered every single sport there is under the sun. And I've seen injuries happen live, but to see an injury happen live where it's season ending, it's career altering, and that it changes the course of this season and these fans' lives who had such high hopes for a team, and all those emotions burgeoning into one moment, I think that's when you're like, sit back and reflect and like, I don't know what this means. Like, you can't tell the future. Like, usually you can tell what's going to happen with an injury, but with this, it's just like, we have no clue what the future holds with Juju Watkins. In the moment, I had to write a breaking news story for the newspaper to get it out online, and then I had to focus on my game story. So I think that coming here on this platform to talk about it 2 days later is really important because I've had time to reflect. So from my vantage point, we were able to sit courtside for the March Madness games. Usually media is behind the basket, but I was basically across the court from where it happened. And she's on a fast break, and Juju loves to do these, slow down, I'm going to Euro step around these defenders, changed my pace completely. And that's what she was doing. And from my vantage point, it looked like she misjudged how fast the defender was coming at her, and her leg just gave out because she didn't have enough time to change the direction. And she'd already kind of started the move. The crowd starts booing the Mississippi State team and defender. I didn't really think it was a dirty play. That's not the point. Juju goes down. She's screaming. She's grabbing her knee. And I think one thing I want to reiterate in this situation is that all these fans are here for her. And in this moment, she's as vulnerable as she's ever been in front of her fans. I can't imagine what that must feel like. And she's down on the ground for a good 2-3 minutes with coaches surrounding her. And eventually 2 of them cradle her out in their arms. She could obviously put no weight on her legs. And I just think that whole moment, you're cursing under your breath. You're concerned. I'd really never seen or covered anything like this in my life before. And to have to work right after it with all these emotions circling was crazy. So that's just from my point of view. And then I think what was amazing was how the team kind of rallied around her, and the crowd too. The crowd started booing, and whether they were right for booing or not, it kind of rallied the team. And they had one of the most dominant performances by any team in any sport I've ever seen. And even though it was a 30-point blowout, you just couldn't look down because they were making so many exciting plays. And what I loved more than their plays was their personality. And they were trying to, I think, embody Juju and her passion and her heart and her love for the city in their play. After every left-handed layup that Kiki Iriafen finished, the bench is raising their left hand. After she hit a jump shot that bobbed in off the rim, she bobbed her head. I loved how much passion they showed. And I think it was trying to give it all back to Juju and say, like, we're playing in your honor, we're protecting you. Like, we know how much you love basketball, so we want to show our love for basketball. They hit buzzer beaters after the first, second, or before the first, second, and third quarter buzzers. And that was it just felt like, I don't know. It felt like there was another purpose there, like this performance from USC doesn't happen if that injury doesn't happen. So I think that was really cool. And I think moving off of it, now that it's season ending, and that you've had such an emotionally driven performance from a team, it's really tough to get back up and do that again. So I think USC has a chance to beat Kansas State because they're just so talented. And Lindsey Gottlieb, the coach, has so many more plays that she could run for different players on the team other than just Juju. I think what we saw was like Kiki, she got her game completely opened up because they ran things through her. And I think she struggles as the number 2 in an offense with Juju there. With her as the 1, like it was so easy for her. So I think that was really cool. And I think they can run through her to beat Kansas State. Then when you get to UConn, if you get to UConn, I think that's going to be a tough game. I think it would have been a tough game with Juju. UConn's playing as well as anybody right now. And I know there's a lot of storylines there with losing last year in the Elite Eight. Lindsey Gottlieb kind of being annoyed about the draw that they had to go through UConn again to get to the Final Four. And then now you have this whole emotional hangover of Juju getting hurt. I think that it's going to be a really tough game to get up for and to beat UConn. So that's kind of where I'm looking at it from a basketball standpoint right now. In the future, the timing of Juju's injury really sucks for the USC because she's a sophomore, so she does have 2 more years of eligibility. But in women's, they get to go to the WNBA after their junior season. She's not going to be back until this time next year for the postseason. So my assumption is, just knowing how much she loves playing at USC, that she would maybe stay for her senior year where she can be fully healthy, similar to how Paige did it. But the timing of it is terrible. I think it'll be a 9 to 12 month injury. I actually learned in the recent days that women athletes are more susceptible to torn ACLs than male athletes are. And that's something that I thought was really interesting. And I wonder if that changes the whole, like, just training. Now that we've seen like Paige and Juju, 2 of the best women's basketball players, tear their ACLs, and the rehab, like I just think, like, you see this and I just wonder what it changes. I'm really sad for women's basketball because it was in such a good place, and now it's going to lose Juju for a year, and Paige is going to go to the draft. So I hope someone else can pick it up in their absence. And then when Juju comes back, I really hope that she's the same player. I think that the toughest part will be mental side. Like, we've seen players bounce back and rehab this numerous times, but she was making a move that she's made 100 times. She was slowing her pace down like she does all the time. And I think she's just going to think about that. It's going to be in the back of her head every time she goes for that move. So I think the mental side is what I'm really the most scared for. I think just to be able to cover a game like that, where the emotions, just the way I wrote it was like the emotions yo-yoed on a string. That's what I wrote. And I think you see it going from excitement because they held Mississippi State scoreless for the first 8 possessions. And then the injury happens and it just falls silent. And then after that, there's booing. And then they're excited again because the team's going off, just to see all those emotions can congeal and collide into one. And as they're going off, you can't be too excited because it comes with a grain of salt because Juju's done. So it's just all these emotions clashing into one, and you have to write an article to kind of represent them. That was one of the hardest things I've ever had it done. Like, it came all off adrenaline. And I mean, it's not about me, it's about Juju and it's about the team. So I'm just really thankful that I got to cover that. And it's an awful situation, but hopefully some motivation and good can come out of it. So there's this one quote I want to read from the press conference. I mean, the press conference after was insane because, there was no official information on the injury, as much as we want to predict. Like, we're not doctors. So there was no official injury designation at that point, but so the coach didn't answer a ton of questions about the injury specifically, but I wanted to read one quote she said about Juju that I thought was very interesting, and I think encapsulated especially how the fans were feeling. So Lindsay said, that's the coach, Lindsay Gottlieb. She said, I don't know exactly what's going on in the next couple of hours. I mean, you cannot tell me that the energy of that crowd and how sort of angry they were with the other team and how much fire they showed for our team is so much about what Juju has given to this arena, to this program, to this city. And you just want to give it all back, right? You want to give it all back and support her. But also, the team has become and deserves my best and our best to build that belief. So I think this shows how this performance was all giving back to Juju. This is how they give back to her. This is a form of support for her. I mean, I don't know if she was watching. I assume she probably wasn't because she has to go through all these tests. I know she was taken out of the arena because they don't have an MRI machine at Galen Center. But I think when she does get the chance to go back and watch this, she can see how much love her team gave to her with this performance. I think moving forward, if you want to talk about someone who's going to step up, basketball wise, Kiki Iriafen has to step up. But I do think this is going to have to be a team effort to come together and make up for her absence. And if they can do that, they have a chance to make a run. But if not, I don't think any team if they lose their best player, let alone the best player in the sport, would be able to bounce back from that. So it's just, you take what you can get from here on out, and to get that performance after that injury is amazing in itself.